Hi BookTube, my name is Juan, I am just one reader, and today I am coming to you with a different kind of video, but it's a very exciting one. Essentially, I am asking for your help because I have a big problem. I would love to become reacquainted with the fantasy genre. So let me give you a little bit of context and backstory here so you can get what I mean. I used to love the fantasy genre, fantasy novels, fantasy novellas, fantasy series. You could even say that fantasy was the genre that got me hooked into reading in the first place. That's what, reading Harry Potter, the Chronicles of Narnia, Artemis Fowl, and all of these like very fantasy heavy series growing up, that was what got me into reading some other things and some other genres and more adult literature. So the thing was that I decided to train as a psychoanalyst, and that is a very time-consuming thing to do. It demands your everything, every moment, every minute of your waking life, of your everyday life, like everything is consumed by the training process. And now I am finally coming to a point in life when I am about to graduate from my degree 6 years after having started it, and now I feel like I will be able to read for longer stretches of time, and I really want to get reacquainted with the fantasy genre. And luckily for me, I have a bunch of fantasy novels and a lot of fantasy series on my shelves that I'm going to share. I'm going to share all of them with you. And these are some options of fantasy things that I want to read, and I want to hear your feedback. Please help me out. Please help me out and tell me if you recommend something in particular. If you don't recommend something in particular, like stay clear, stay away from that, don't read that, don't bother. I would love to be able to read all of the books that I will share in this video, but let's be honest, there's a lot of material in here, so it's going to take a while. So I'm just going to share the books with you and tell you some of my fantasies about fantasy books, some of my ideas and assumptions about what these books are about, and maybe you can tell me if I'm right, and just essentially suggest which one is more should be more prioritized. So here are the books. So first of all, we have the one and only Robin Hobb, and Robin Hobb is actually an author that I've been reading recently. I am actually right now starting Ship of Destiny, which is the third book in the Lifeship Traders trilogy, and I have the rest of the Realm of the Elderlings except for one book that it's still on its way. It's coming in the mail, but I pretty much have the entire series here, so I'm just going to share them quickly. I have the Tawny Man trilogy by Robin Hobb, which is Fool's Errand, The Golden Fool, and Fool's Fate. So that's the Tawny Man trilogy. Whoops, I just killed that book. I'm sorry. Don't sue me. Then we have the Rainwild Chronicles, which is a quartet. So it's 4 books, of which I only have 3. I'm still missing the first one. But we have Dragon Haven, and these are very beautiful covers, beautiful British editions. City of Dragons, which might be my favorite cover, and Blood of Dragons. So that's the Rainwild Chronicles. And then we have the last trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings, which is the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which is Fool's Assassin, Fool's Quest. Love that cover too. And finally, Assassin's Fate. So I'm really excited. Of course, we know that Robin Hobb is just a very compelling writer. She comes up with these larger-than-life plots and magic systems, and her writing style is so just perfect, pitch perfect, and she never ceases to amaze, in my opinion. And also, it feels like a huge series made up of different series and trilogies, so you feel this kind of immersion in her world. Next up, I have the Seven Waters trilogy by Juliet Marillier. This is the first one, A Daughter of the Forest. It's a very popular and beloved book here on BookTube. She's a very beloved author, and she's actually an author that many people recommend to people who have loved Robin Hobb. So this kind of has, beautiful writing, great characters, female characters that are very, very interesting, and this beautiful, like, rich atmospheres, and it's Celtic folklore inspired fantasy. Mordew by Alex Feby is the first book in a planned trilogy. This is supposed to be really innovative, dark fantasy. It's about a world where God is dead, which is a premise that, of course, I like because I am an agnostic and I love this kind of thing. Like, it makes me think of his Dark Materials, and it's the story of this boy who I think loses his father, and it's Alex Feby. He has become very popular with many books that he's written, and this has caused quite a lot of noise on BookTube. Then I have Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which is a trilogy by Tad Williams. The first book being The Dragonbone Chair, one of Rick McDaniel's favorite books, and he actually hosted a read-along of this particular book. I think of the entire series, but I could not participate because my schedule was incredibly busy, but I really want to read some Tad Williams. I've just been hearing that Tad has this kind of great writing style, and it's a very traditional, quote-unquote traditional kind of fantasy, but just really well executed. It's 3 books. They're pretty chunky. They say that the first one is quite a bit of a slog. We'll have to see, but I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really want to see, because I feel like a good standard traditional, quote-unquote traditional trilogy might do the trick. Then I have the Fairyland series by Catherine M. Valente. I have read the first book in the series twice. The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. I've read it twice. I loved it. I think it's a great book. I don't usually like Catherine M. Valente's writing style. I find it very self-indulgent and purple for no reason except to be obnoxious and sort of masturbatory. But I found that in this kind of fantasy middle grade context, it really, really plays well with it. So I want to continue on with the rest of the series because I've read the first one twice, so why not just finish off the series? So these books are actually really beautiful. I love how they are constructed. They look beautiful on the shelf, and we have these like really long titles. The Girl Who Fell Beneath Fairyland and Led the Rebels There, The Girl Who Raced Fairyland All the Way Home, The Boy Who Lost Fairyland, and The Girl Who Soared Over Fairyland and Cut the Moon in Two. These are very long titles. Another middle grade fantasy series that I've wanted to read for quite some time now is the Percy Jackson series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan. I read the first book, which is The Lightning Thief, ages ago. I think it was when the movie was made, which I remember was a really awful movie, but I really loved the book. I think the Greek mythology aspect of it was really interesting. The pacing, the rhythm, the character work, just really well executed. I really, really loved Rick Riordan's style, just a very fun storytelling. So we have the entire series right here. Now, something a bit more mature and macabre, The Dark Tower by Stephen King. This is one of those really long series, because Stephen King has a flaw of never knowing how to stop and how to edit himself. So these books are, look at this book. Like, this is the comparison. This is my face. This is my actual head. This is the book. It's larger than life. I mean, it's like a Bible. Except it's a pretty fucked up Bible, which is my kind of Bible anyway. So this is a very controversial series. Many people love it. Many people kind of like it, but have some reservations about the ending. In particular, I feel like This is a series that, you know, it's the ending that sort of makes you love it or hate it. And I am extremely curious to find out what that is. It just looks very creepy. Like there's some imagery here in the illustrations that I'm drawn to it because I am a creep. This is the only reread that I decided to include in this video. This is my favorite book of all time, The Neverending Story by Michael Ende. In my opinion, this is the best book ever written, and it is of course the best fantasy book ever written. It's flawless, it's wonderful, and I cannot remember when I read it for the last time. I used to reread it very frequently when I was younger, but I feel like I've neglected it. So I want to go back, maybe host a read-along here on BookTube if anyone is interested. But yeah, I really want to go back. Next up, I have the Gatekeepers series by Anthony Horowitz. This is middle grade fantasy. It was super popular when I first joined BookTube like 10 years ago in my first channel. That was a long time ago, and these books were really hot. Now, I haven't really seen them around BookTube anymore, but you know, it's a 5-book series and it's supposed to be really engrossing and fast-paced. Fudoki by Kai Johnson is more in the fabulist kind of genre. This book I've also had for ages. It was very popular when I first joined BookTube as well. It was recommended by Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings. She always talked about this book. I got it, never actually read it, so here it is. A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin is the first book in the Earthsea quartet. I think it's a quartet. It's a series anyway, and it's one of the OG YA novels, and it's a typical story of a boy wizard who goes to learn his craft, I should say. So if I like A Wizard of Earthsea, I can go ahead and pick up the rest of the books in the series. And finally, last but not least, Terry Pratchett. I've only read one Terry Pratchett book before, which was The Color of Magic, and I found it very funny, but I never wanted to continue with the rest of the Discworld series. But this is a trilogy within the Discworld series that you can read just separately as a trilogy. So these are the Tiffany Aching books, Tiffany Aching Adventures. The first one, The We Free Men, then Wintersmith, and finally A Hat Full of Sky. I love these covers. And you know, what I get from Terry Pratchett is that these books are going to be very charming, delightful, sort of whimsical, very whimsical actually, very quaint and colorful and mocking of themselves, which is, you know, a very positive quality for me. I love when books are playful and when an author doesn't take themselves seriously. So yeah, that's Terry Pratchett. Those are all the books. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment down below and just pour all of your opinions, all of your suggestions, recommendations. If you have some other recommendations of books that are not here, also feel free to share them with me. I have tried to, I think I should say this, I've tried to read Brandon Sanderson before. I tried the Mistborn trilogy and did not enjoy it. I thought it was in very poor taste, very bad taste, actually. And I also didn't like Joe Abercrombie, The Blade itself. I thought it was very distasteful and just not well written enough, in my opinion. So those are some examples of things that I don't tend to like, but I am open to any kind of suggestion. Thanks for watching. I am Just One Reader, and I will see you on the next video.